Welcome to the Moody's Tire and Auto Football Extra.
Where honesty and service comes first.
Serving Williamson County for over 70 years. Visit us at Moody's Tire for all your tire and automotive needs.
Stop by and see us at 1600 Columbia Avenue.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the latest edition of the Moody's Tire and Auto Football Extra. I'm Joe Williams, along with our resident expert here at the Herald, Maurice Patton. And Maurice, we do a lot of football kind of out of county right now as we work with the state volleyball tournament. Our guy behind the scenes, Charles Pulliam, has been at it for about 36 hours, and he looks it.
He's a little rough around the edges, but we'll get him polished back up.
That's because he works so doggone hard. Let's talk a little bit about football. We may be in another county, but we know what's going on in ours. And Friday night, big games along the way, but every game has an implication of one kind or another. Let's start in 6A, where Franklin will be at home against Mount Juliet. The Bears lost a couple of games early. May have been the best 0-3 team I've seen in a long time. Now they've made a run. They come to Franklin. The Rebels need a win to host a playoff game.
Mount Juliet, like you said, opened up 0-3, lost an overtime game to Ravenwood, and it might have been the best thing that happened to them because they've not lost since. 5-3, they've got a junior quarterback, Joey Hayes, who has really grown up over the course of the season, I think. Cut his interceptions through 6 in the first 3 games. He's thrown 1 in the last 5 with 10 touchdowns. 1,400 yards, 15 touchdowns. So they're going to throw the ball a little bit more than you would expect a Mount Juliet team to throw it, which may be a little bit of a challenge for Franklin's back end. I think their front 7 is really playing well, and I think they're really reflecting their coaching. Donnie Webb is just a defensive guy, but it'll be interesting to see if Franklin on the back end in the secondary can slow Mount Juliet's passing game down. Meanwhile, Franklin's going to run the ball. Lanham Craddock's got about 380 yards in his last 2 games, and that's where they're going to make their money on offense and then try to get that play-action game going like they did against McGavock last week.
Way across 840, literally just off of 840, sits Wilson Central. That's where Ravenwood has to go. The Raptors have pretty well wrapped up the Region 3 6A title. They've just got to be careful not to slip up in the final couple of steps.
I like that. Did you work on that?
No, actually, I'm just tired.
Okay. You like the way Ravenwood is playing right now. They really stepped up in the second half against Overton last Thursday night and put some points on the board, pulled away from them, and you just kind of expect them to play the same way over at Wilson Central this week, I think. I think they are getting themselves prepared for potentially another deep run in the postseason, and it looks like they've got all the pieces.
In 5A, the state's #1 5A team, Independence, gets to go home and enjoy senior night with a Franklin County team that has shown some improvement over the last couple of weeks, but started out really rough.
It started out really rough, and picked up a win over Summit a couple of weeks ago, 22-14, but I saw Independence early in the year, and I saw them last week against Columbia, and they are just a well-oiled machine on offense right now, and their offense really overshadows what they do defensively, and it's a little unfortunate that defense doesn't get the credit that they probably deserve, but they're stoning people. And, it's a combination that, again, I think can take them deep in the 5A postseason, and this one could be fun. They could throw a lot of points up again, just like they did last week.
And potentially do it early. Speaking of Summit and Franklin County, boy, don't you know the Spartans wish they had that game back. That would make this one all the more important as Stewart's Creek comes to town. The Spartans with the huge upset over Lincoln County. And that one was big. And here's the catch. That region right now, you've got undefeated Independence at the top. You've got winless Tullahoma at the bottom, and the other 6 are either 3-2 or 2-3. This is going to be a game that really, really will go towards figuring out those last 3.
Exactly, and Stewart's Creek is one of those 3-2s, and Summit is one of those 2-3s, and so you've got playoff implications on both sidelines for this one. Stewart's Creek is trying to salt one away. Summit's trying to play their way into one. Like you said, coming off a big win down at the pit in overtime last week, they're really feeling good about the way they're playing right now, but so is Stewart's Creek. So should be a good one.
Nice to have Summit in the discussion for the playoffs. That means there are 10 out of the 11 teams have a shot. 9 have already locked up playoff spots. Speaking of locking up playoff spots, Brentwood, after what everybody thought was a rather tough start, part of that was schedule. Ron Crawford, they're now 4-0, or 4-1 rather, in Region 7 5A, and doggone it, they've locked up a spot in the playoffs. But just what they do is really going to be important Friday night. They got to go all the way to Henry County, God love them, on a bus ride that I wouldn't want to take. But they pull off a win there, it will really, really throw some monkey wrenches in the old works.
No question. I mean, you look at the situation, Brentwood's 4-1 in region play. They've got a shot at a home game in the first round. And so if they were to pull this one off, like you said, it throws all sorts of monkey wrenches and things, because everybody's looking at Centennial Henry County next week, both of them being undefeated, ideally. We saw that same scenario a couple of weeks ago, though, in 5-5A with Independence and Shelbyville, and we know how that went. So don't count those undefeateds just yet, and Brentwood could go a long way toward kind of spoiling that scenario.
Yeah, Brentwood could help their neighbor Centennial, currently 5-0 in the region, having to go to Rossview. And this is another situation where you look at the game on paper and you think, you know, let's just get ready for Henry County. That's not the case. The Rossview team is better than they look, at least in their regional schedule.
Absolutely, and they've got a quarterback, Jordan Justice, who can make some things happen both in the air and with his feet. So he's going to pose some challenges for Centennial's defense. For the most part, Centennial has answered every challenge they've met this year. So you like the way they're playing on that side of the ball, and they seem to get just enough done offensively to get to 7-1 and to be undefeated in region play. So this is another big ball game. You'd like to see Centennial take care of their business, get Henry County next week at their place and see what happens. But they've got to watch out for Rossview, like you said.
Another team possibly facing a trap game in Class 4A. Page goes up to White House, and Blue Devil pride is still a real thing up there, even though the record doesn't show it. And for Page, surely to goodness they're not going to look ahead too quickly to Marshall County, who comes calling next week, and that will be the regional title game.
Absolutely. You know, when you're dealing with 15, 16, 17-year-olds, it's kind of tough not to, but that's kind of what that coaching staff out there is charged with, is getting them to focus on a White House team. Now, it's not a region game, so it's not the end of the world, but you certainly don't want to be going into Marshall County next week trying to figure some things out. You'd like to go in there at your sharpest, and White House just lost 41-3 to Pearl Cone last week, so they're kind of licking their wounds a little bit. But going up there is no picnic, and those guys don't lay down for anybody, so Page has got to be on their toes.
One game that will be a regional championship game, and that's Fairview at home. Thankfully, they're at home against Camden, the last two undefeated in the region there in Class 3A. And, you know, I just know Coach Chris Hughes is thinking we got off to a rough start. Let's end it on a big high.
Oh, they'd love to get this one, obviously, for region championship reasons, but also to just continue the role that they've gotten on after that tough start. You know, that 38-7 loss at Page to open the year. They kind of stumped their toe there. The next week against Creekwood, they've gotten some things straightened out. Hunter Zimmerman is healthy. Yep. And in that offense, having that guy, I mean, he's basically a 3-year starter at quarterback, and he makes everything go for them. Jake Bethard has really come in and played well for them, and they just want to keep building momentum to the postseason, so they really would like to get this one.
Down in Class Single A, we've got Grace Christian Academy. They're at home against Huntland, and you know the crazy part is, Mo, there's still with a win tomorrow night, or with a win Friday night, there's still an outside chance that Grace could make the playoffs,
which would be really interesting because they've got a game scheduled on November 6th against Zion Christian. Because obviously they didn't think they were going to be in the playoffs. So, and the TSSAA allows that. If you are not going to participate in the playoffs, you can schedule a game that weekend. And so Zion is not participating. They're not playing a region schedule, so obviously they weren't going to the playoffs. Grace Christian didn't think they were going to the
first
playoffs.
Year program.
Exactly.
TSSAA probably said, okay, yeah.
Sure, why not? Yeah. Well, so all of a sudden, this could be interesting. And you know, Huntland's obviously an established program, pretty good team. It would take something for Grace to beat them, but that's why they play the game.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time.
No.
In Division II, it's our folks up in Brentwood. Looked really good last week against Father Ryan. Man, they are looking good, and they've got take on University Christian out of Florida. And partner, I don't think I know anything at all about these people.
Well, let me help you out.
Should I?
Yeah, not necessarily,
Okay.
but I called the Jacksonville, the Florida Times Union, and
you cheated. Okay, I like it.
I did a little recon.
You work. You did research.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they've got a running back linebacker kid named Hassan Howe. It's spelled like Hussein, like some guy that lives in D.C. But they pronounce it Hassan Howe. It's about 5'9", 180, running back linebacker. After I called and did some recon on him, found out apparently Utah is on this kid, like the University of, like Kyle Whittingham. Yeah. So he's pretty good. He's on the Florida Times Union Super 11, which is the 11 top players in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. So he's a pretty good ball player.
Good there.
He's got about 1,100 rushing yards, about 18 touchdowns. So, you kind of know where University Christian's bread is buttered when they come into this ball game against Brentwood Academy. Obviously, Brentwood Academy is pretty good. They've got 3 SEC commitments. We've been talking about them all year. Should be an interesting matchup just to see what this team out of Florida, which is regarded as probably one of the top 2A teams. They play 8 classes down there. You think we got a lot. But one of the top 2A teams out of Florida, it'll be interesting just to see the matchup.
Oh, yeah. And, it's a nice prep, if you will, for what's sure to come in the weeks that follow, because obviously Brentwood Academy, probably the top-rated team in the state, period.
Yeah, I mean, between what they've done, their only loss is to Louisville Trinity. They've run off 6 straight wins since then. You look at the talent. Obviously, again, they've got the 3 linemen that are going to the Southeastern Conference. They've got the quarterback, Jeremiah Oatsvall, who is going to play college ball somewhere. Cameron Johnson's a sensation as a sophomore at receiver and playing some safety as well. And, I mean, Prince Mamadou. I mean, you can just keep rolling off the names. They've got talent all over the place. They are the odds-on favorite to win D2 AA this year, and if they don't, that'll be interesting to watch as well.
We say they're probably the top. Folks in Maryville might disagree with us a little bit.
Talent for talent? No, it'd be a heck of a game.
That'd be a good ball game.
It would be. Why don't you see if you can pull that off?
Oh, yeah. Okay. And by the way, our last game of the week ain't happening. BGA's got the week off as they prepare for what I think will be the region championship game. I got an email today that somebody's disagreeing with me, but they got to win that game. They'll be facing FRA, which right now, let's see, DCA beat BGA.
Davidson
beat BGA.
Right.
And FRA beat Davidson. If BGA beats FRA,
alphabet soup, huh?
I still think that's a region game.
Yeah,
title game.
I think you're right, and that game has become a nice little rivalry, kind of the Battle of Franklin Road there, so to speak, and the 2 pretty evenly matched programs, and the way Franklin Road Academy is playing right now, and BGA kind of stubbed their toe a couple of times there, but I think it's going to be a good one, and so they're taking this week off, resting up a little bit, getting ready for that one.
Getting healthy is what they got to be doing.
Yeah. Well, they've got a couple of injuries that a week's not going to help.
Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately, you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's kind of a preview of what we expect to see tomorrow night. Of course, be watching WilliamsonHerald.com early Saturday morning for all the stories and pictures and, of course, those fantastic Charles Pulliam videos. And while the games are going on, don't forget to follow us on Twitter. We'll give you a whole list of them. You see them right there across the bottom, who you got to need to pay attention to. Charles laughs because now he has to put them across the bottom. For Charles and my partner, Maurice Patton, I'm Joe Williams. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Moody's Tire and Auto Football Extra.